let's dive right into gaining the undeniable advantage, how to provide the best car buying experience ever. Now, actually, we're going to review 3 best car buying experiences ever. We're going to look at 100% offline purchases. That's the one we're most familiar with, right? That's the traditional up who walks on the lot. We're also going to look at 100% online buying experience. Yes, Virginia, dealers are selling new cars online today. We're going to show you how. And then we're going to look at an online-offline hybrid because that's really where most of the deals are going to be done in the near future. Now, there is no one-size-fits-all, and this is continually evolving. Now, you might ask, Steve, why are we looking at all 3? Well, we're looking at 100% offline because right now, this really is where most of your transactions are occurring today. We're going to look at some data from driving sales where they say that in 2015, 61% of buyers made no contact with you prior to showing up at your dealership and buying a car. That means 61% of people who are buying cars are doing it technically, as far as your team is concerned, 100% offline. We're also going to look at a hybrid because this is where most of your future transactions are going to occur and where 39% of your transactions are occurring today. And we'll look at 100% online. And we need to understand this in order to maximize both our hybrid and even our 100% offline sales because we're going to use some of the same tools. See, some of the tools that we're going to use online we'll also use offline or certainly in our hybrid. Now, let's jump into talking about today's connected buyer. Let's get into section 1 because we have to understand why things are changing and why we need to change in our dealerships. Remember these quick stats from a couple of webcasts ago. According to AutoTrader, in 2015, 71% of used car buyers purchased the vehicle they intended. When they got to your lot, they purchased the vehicle they intended. 77% of new car buyers purchased the vehicle they intended. Now, when you tell these stats to a traditional, old school sales manager, they'll tell you you're crazy. No, we flip everybody. No, you don't. You're flipping people out of the store and they're going and buying somewhere else. The reason that they bought the vehicle they intended is because Google tells us that before they ever set foot on your lot, they looked at more than 24 sources of information and they spent more than 19 hours doing research. We need to start treating every buyer like a connected buyer because they've done their own needs analysis, they've done their own product selection, they've done their own feature presentation. When they show up at your dealership, they're looking for someone to sell you a car. And because connected buyers know what they want, a study by McKinsey & Company found that today's buyers visit an average of 1.6 lots before buying. That's down from more than 5 lots per buyer in 2004. And DME Automotive tells us that 42% of new car buyers visited just 1 lot before buying. Now think about that when we think about our traditional closing percentage of today's traditional ups, right? We probably close about 20%, but 42% of buyers will buy at the first dealership they went to. We need to treat them as buyers. And finally, according to driving sales, by the way, this looks like a chart where like bug eyes, like flies eyes, they're not. This is a chart showing how many people are dissatisfied with doing business with you. The chart here on your right, that's the chart from driving sales. 99% of consumers say they expect a hassle when they start the car shopping process. Those are the people in the red. The chart on the left, that's from AutoTrader. AutoTrader did a study a year ago, and they found out only about 1 in 235 buyers likes your current sales process. That's what the green represents in these charts. It represents who enjoys the car buying process. We need to change. And here's why we need to change. Everybody's online. We know that. Let's agree to that. Everybody knows what they want. Yeah, we're going to have to get over that one. We have to start agreeing to that one. Everybody expects a hassle, right? 99% do. And everybody hates our current process. 234 out of 235 hate the current process. So knowing this, we've got to change the experience. Now, given all of that, these guys have to have it all figured out, right? So they have no dealership hassles, check, right? No bad dealership processes, yeah, check. Heck, no dealership expenses, right? Just buy and drive, right? Simple, right? No, see, they forgot a few things. There's no dealership expense with these folks, but they have the same acquisition and recon costs that we have, don't they? See, they got to buy and they got to sell cars. Plus, they have new costs that you don't have, like storage, pickup, delivery. Plus, not having dealers, no dealership experience means there's no car shopping for these folks. In the words of Dr. Alan Grant from Jurassic Park, T-Rex doesn't want to be fed, he wants to hunt. There's a reason that BP went out of business after burning through $150 million. And it's because they're forgetting that people still want to shop, even when they know what they want. But here's the problem for you traditional dealers. You're letting these guys define you, and we have to change that. But Steve, studies show, eBay did a study of 1,000 eBay motor shoppers and 1,000 other buyers last year, and they found a whopping 63% said they were either likely or extremely likely to purchase a vehicle fully online in the future. Oh, 63%. That's great. Half of those people are already on eBay Motors. Why aren't they doing that now, right? Why wasn't it a higher number? Oh, and in the future, again, why not now? What's stopping them? eBay has had the capability to sell a car fully online for over a decade, right? Also in the eBay data, they showed us that men are twice as likely as women to have bought a car outright on eBay Motors. But wait, don't women make the vast majority of buying decisions for cars? Yeah, absolutely. Aren't we supposed to be gearing our processes toward attracting more women buyers? Yes, both offline and online. And that's the experience we're going to talk about today. Now, eBay takes credit for millions of vehicles sold so far, but the percent who will actually buy online today, with all the tools, with all the transparency that's out there, is still just a fraction of the population. We have an advantage over these guys because the amount of people who will actually buy the vehicle online today is only about 5%, according to Rick Reichert, one of the dealers who's selling cars online today. See, T-Rex doesn't want to be fed, but he wants to hunt, okay? But this doesn't mean we're going to say no to creating a great online buying experience on your website. See, today, you must be all in on a great experience, online, offline, and a hybrid of the two. Now, all three, by the way, should be eerily similar to each other. I would argue largely identical. Let me explain that again. I'm saying that all three of your processes, whether it's 100% offline or 100% online or a combination of the two, those processes, the way it feels to the customer, that experience should be largely identical. Doesn't matter which channel I'm using. Let's start by talking about the best offline car buying experience. We're going to look at all three, but we'll go ahead and start with the best offline car buying experience. Now, this is not an option. It's not an option to improve your current in-store processes. See, improving the in-store experience is critical to gaining share. It's critical to holding gross, and it's critical to creating customers for life. Now, you saw the stat, right? 99% of people expect a hassle when they start the car shopping process, right? 1 in 235 likes your current process. How many cars did you sell last month? 235? Guess what? One person liked that process if you're an average dealer. Now, every startup that's out there is attacking you on the experience. In fact, the Carvana commercials, what do they say? They even say, this doesn't suck. They're implying that it sucks to buy from you. Now, when we talk about an improved offline car buying experience, a great experience offline, we're only talking about two things. We're talking about a shortened road to the sale, and we're talking about process transparency. Just implementing these make for a great experience. Think about the opposite, right? The 5-hour road to the sale. That's not a great experience. We need to shorten the road to the sale. No process transparency. That's the opposite, right? That's what we're doing today. That's where our sales rep leaves our customer at a table all by themselves while he goes to the desk. The customer doesn't really know what's going on. They have no idea why they're waiting 45 minutes to get into F&I to give you their money. They've already bought the car in their mind, and yet you're making them wait. There is no process transparency. So again, if we can create a shortened road to the sale and we can add some process transparency, we can actually create a great offline buying experience. Now, we're going to make this happen through some assumptive selling and with some tools and processes that will move it along. Now, the first rule here to creating this great offline car buying experience is you have to stop focusing on the negatives of a shortened road to the sale. I know what you're thinking, Steve, wait, but we got these stats, right, that say we've got to be 3 hours or we'll never sell a car. I'm telling you right now, the old school data is irrelevant today. I'm embarrassed for those of you who continue to share it on LinkedIn. Today's consumer wants 30 minutes to an hour, and there are a lot of dealers who are hitting it, and they're getting great CSI, and they're earning tremendous front and back grosses. The reason that we need a shortened road to the sale is the buyer already has all the information. The Sonic One experience today, right? It's one person, one price, 1 hour. Yeah, but Steve, that's Sonic. Nobody's been able to make that last for very long. Oh, really? I remember being in Champ BMW over 8 years ago, and they were doing it. They were doing it, and they've been doing it for over a decade. And they've been earning great grosses both front and back and doing the whole deal in an hour or less. The Ken Garf Group has tested it, and now they've taken their Garf E's, right? Under 1 hour with no F&I. They've taken it to 6 stores. It is a reality, and it's happening today, and it's because of people like Carvana that we have to make it happen. Otherwise, people will go to 100% online, and they won't do it with us. Now, why even work on this one, right? Steve, why do we work on this one? Everybody's online, right? Everybody hates the dealership experience, right? Yes, but they still want to shop. This is what Carvana doesn't understand. They are solving for the wrong pain point. This is how you can make them irrelevant. T-Rex wants to hunt, okay? Driving Sales says that 61% of buyers today make no contact with you before they arrive. Now that's despite the ability to gather info via leads, right? They could pick up the phone and get more information. They could submit a lead and get more information. Surely, as online buying options like AutoFi grow, this number is going to be reduced, right? The 61%. I understand that. As you start adding a true buy it now, a true express checkout to your website, this 61% is going to decrease. It really will. But to what? 51% of people will show up without any contact with you. 41%. Whatever it drops to in the next few years, the 100% in-store experience is still going to be critical for a very long time. That's why we got to fix this. Listen, online here is buying. Online buying rather is here. Online buying is here right now. But even with all the available tools, Cox Automotive projects that just 10% of transactions could be done online by 2019. Dealer Rick Reichart, a guy who's ahead of the curve on online buying, he estimates that today about 5% are going to do it, okay? But of course he says that's going to grow. This doesn't mean we wait. The tools are inexpensive and there's no barriers to entry. You can do it without training a huge team. You can do it with just a couple of people. Now let's talk about what's wrong with your current road to the sale. It takes 3+ hours, right? It takes 3+ hours to get through. They're ready for step 6 when they arrive at your dealership, while you want to slow play steps 1 through 5, right? They show up at your dealership ready for the demo drive, and you want to take them back to step 1. There's also too much paperwork in the current road to the sale, and the old school road to the sale assumes the consumer knows nothing when they actually know everything. And then finally, the old school road to the sale, like this one, it lacks transparency in both price and in process. Now, you need speed, and you need to reduce friction. The lack of process transparency in store creates friction. What do I mean by process transparency? I mean that the customer knows what's going on and they agree with that step. They know what you're doing now and what you're going to do next. That's process transparency. See, the process with the most friction right now and the least process transparency, I'll give you a second to guess. Oh, okay. It's F&I. The second process with the most friction and the least transparency is desking. These are a grind to today's consumers. And so we need to find a way to reduce the friction, and we need to find a way to make these processes more efficient. See, eventually, customers will self-desk. Steve, what? Yes. In fact, they're doing it today. They'll self-present and select the menus. What? Yeah, they're doing it today. And they'll take themselves through all the other F&I options. All of this is happening today. But Steve, if we get rid of F&I, oh my God, you're one of those guys. No, listen, you don't have to get rid of F&I today, but it's not going to be around forever in the current form. It can't be, because today's connected customer wants speed, they want efficiency, and they want to reduce the friction. You're not going to lose your F&I grosses if this happens. It's important to understand that. Even Carvana gets about $1,100 or $1,200 on back-end grosses, and they do it 100% online without anybody interacting with the customer unless they have a question. People will buy F&I products from you. They really will if you give them a chance to learn about them by themselves. Okay, Steve, but how do we get there? I can't go from my current road to the sale to doing it all on an iPad overnight. No, that you can't. I understand that. But see, all dealers are at different stages of their road to the sale and the customer experience, right? How do I get from this traditional road to the sale to a great customer experience? See, some of you are still 100% old school, and you're closing your traditional ups at about 20%. and you're still making no new car grosses. And your F&I gross, well, it depends, on your F&I manager. The problem with F&I today, and we all know it, we've known it for years. We've known it almost since F&I was invented. And that is you've got 6 people who are trying to get in to see one F&I manager. 6 people who've just bought a car, and suddenly we have to slow them down. We sped them up to get them to F&I, and now we have to slow down those 6 people because our F&I manager can only see one person at a time. And so the experience goes in the toilet, and they don't want to buy anything when they get inside there. Now, some, like Sean BMW, they're already 100% transparent, right? They already have it done, right? The Sonic One experience. Everybody, there's a whole bunch of people that got it all on an iPad, and the customer is taking themselves through it. And even if your product specialist is helping them, they feel like they're self-selecting. They feel like they're choosing. They feel like they're buying. Now, most every dealer is really somewhere in the middle, right? Somewhere in the blue arrow. You're not necessarily all old school, and you're not 100% online. So how do we get there? We get there through planning. We plan for the future, and we start using the available tools today, and we start putting in the written processes today. Now, how does this happen? First, we all need to agree that your current road to the sale stinks. You've got to come to that realization. Unless you've changed it significantly over the last couple of years, it probably stinks for all but one of 235 of your customers. The second thing we need to do is we need to agree that a great customer experience means higher grosses, really does, higher CSI, and higher employee morale. So we can agree on those 2 things? Great. Let's look at the common denominators of a great experience, okay? All great buying experiences at the car dealership are controlled. There are 5 things we're going to look at. Control is number 1. We've got to keep the experience controlled. That means we're going to be in charge, but we're going to be in charge in a way that makes sense. That's number 2. All great buying experiences make sense. They make sense to the customer. All great buying experiences seem shorter than they really are. See, they're efficient. Think about that. Think about watching 5 minutes of a sitcom on TV versus standing and watching a clock for 5 minutes. Obviously, the 5 minutes of a sitcom seems a whole lot shorter than watching a clock for 5 minutes. We're going to make our processes efficient. We're going to keep the customer busy, right? So that they're going to seem shorter than they are. All great buying experiences employ a buying process. That means the customer feels like they're buying, okay? Not an old school road to the sale. And this buying process, actually the customer feels like our equal. That's what creates a great experience. We're in control. The process makes sense. We're walking them through an iPad, but they feel like they're the ones making all the decisions. We're not pushing them towards anything. And in fact, they're going to make great decisions that get us great grosses on the front and on the back. And finally, all great buying experiences assume the sale. We need to start assuming they are here to buy the minute they arrive on the lot. Today's up needs you to be in control. They need you to take charge, okay? They need you to be direct. They need you to provide guidance. See, they don't know how any of this stuff works, okay? We have to control the experience or we won't sell a car. The best road to the sale is actually a controlled buying process. Now, when we talk about controlling the experience, this requires process. And for processes to succeed, they have to be standardized. This means you need to put them in writing. I'm sorry, Mr. Sales Manager. You have to put the process in writing. And you have to start reinforcing it by the whole management team. That's called a standardized process. All processes need to be simple. Complicated processes don't work. See, simple processes are intuitive and they're easy to train. It means I'm in charge of this process if I'm the sales manager. I put it in place, it's in writing, I can reinforce it. Oh, and it's really simple to train. It really is ABC 1, 2, 3. In order for processes to work, they've got to be repeatable. That means you cannot allow freelancing. Some of you are letting your superstar circumvent your processes. I guarantee you, once you start measuring, you'll find that that superstar is blowing through ups or doing other things that are costing you money. Process outsells the opposite. Process makes more gross than the opposite, 100% of the time, I guarantee it. And finally, for processes to succeed, they've got to be continually improved. We've got to take processes where they are today. We can create great processes, but we have to understand they're going to be changed in a year. All right, they're going to improve. Now, implementing processes is not hard. It's really not. And it is cheaper than the alternative. It's also easier than the alternative. If you think as a desk manager, you don't have time for process, if you think as an F&I manager, you don't have time for process, I guarantee you, you don't know the amount of time you'll have if we can implement these things. By the way, processes sell way more cars than the alternative. Your lack of repeatable processes is what Carvana and others are using against you. That's all it is. Unless customers are telling you how great the experience was, you lack process. What do you mean, Steve? I mean, when they come out of F&I and you've just taken their head off in F&I and you made great front-end grosses as well, if they don't come look for the first manager they can find and shake his or her hand and say, you know what, this is the best car buying experience I ever had. I mean, the best car buying experience I've ever had. If you're not getting that on a daily basis, then you lack processes in your store. All right, listen, great experiences, they also make sense, right? That's the second thing about all great buying experiences. Customers should see the with them in every step of your process, the what's in it for me. It should make sense to the customer. I understand why he's doing this. I understand why they're doing that. I understand what's on the iPad in front of me. They should see the with them, what's in it for me in every step of your process. And everything they do at your dealership should make sense to the customer. Does it make sense to the customer when they arrive on your lot, ready to test drive, for you to take them back to step one, right? Meet and greet, needs analysis, product selection, feature presentation. They've already done all those. They want to come in and get on the test drive and go. Does it make sense to your customer to wait for 45 minutes or longer to get into F&I? Absolutely not. They're sitting there going, you know what? I've got this 40 grand. I want to give it to you people, but you're making me wait. I don't understand this. A visit that makes sense values their time. There's no downtime, okay? A visit that makes sense is seamless. It's smooth. It's continuous. Everything is in order. A visit that makes sense is transparent. That means there's no mystery throughout. There's no mystery at all. A visit that makes sense gives them a sense of buying, not of being sold, okay? And a visit that makes sense is even fun. Steve, it's a car purchase. It's fun? Yes, this is a huge purchase for them, okay? It should be fun. So how do you make it fun and seamless? We do this by engaging them throughout the process, okay? Engagement changes their clock, their concept of time, if you will. This is what makes it efficient, keeping them engaged, keeping them doing things. Again, think about it. What takes longer? What feels like it takes longer? Watching a 30-minute TV show or sitting in a waiting room with nothing to do for 30 minutes? Clearly, the process will seem efficient if we keep them engaged. And we can keep them engaged with things like iPads that have the F&I products on them, that take them through. Even if we're not going to have them buy the F&I products with a product specialist yet, even if they're still going to go see the F&I manager, imagine your offline process that presents them the products, takes them through, lets them self-educate, lets them self-select and see what it does to their payment before they get into F&I. I guarantee you, you're going to see higher back-end grosses just by implementing that little piece because it's an engagement. It's an efficient process. It starts to make sense to the customer. And by the way, engagement is easy if your processes keep the rep with the buyer the entire time. Engagement is easy if you have a kiosk or an iPad where the process starts versus a rep disappearing right to scan their license. So imagine I step on your lot, right, to buy, and your salesperson says, hey, what vehicles did you come to see today? And I say, well, I came to see this 2015 Civic you've got on Auto Trader. And he says, great, give me your license, sir. We'll go scan it so we can get you out on a test drive. And he walks me to a kiosk and he scans my license and he keeps me engaged. That's engagement. That makes it efficient, right? Now, you're already using applications like AutoFi, right, where the rep consults on a purchase. That's what makes engagement easy. So engagement's easy if you'll add an application like the AutoFi where the rep sits next to the customer and walks them through on the iPad and consults with them on all these purchases. Engagement is easy, by the way, and it's easiest if you just give them the iPad themselves. Give them the iPad and help them value their trade. Give them the iPad and help them self-desk. Give them the iPad so that they can choose F&I products and select the lender. That's engagement. That creates a buying experience, right, that seems seamless and transparent. But Steve, we don't have all this stuff yet. Okay, listen, you don't need the technology yet, okay? But technology, right, helps everyone stay on the process. If you think about it, if there's a technology piece that can walk the customer through the process, couldn't it also walk my, say it with me, product specialist through the process? There are 3 engagement rules to remember, okay? 1, never leave them alone. That's engagement rule number 1. Even if you're not using technology yet, engagement rule number 1, I'm never going to leave the prospect by themselves. Engagement rule number 2, I'm going to make sure they participate in everything, even if it means I have to turn my monitor towards them, right? Whether it's the salesperson or whether it's F&I. I'm going to have them participate in everything. And where possible, engagement rule number 3 is I'm going to have them actually do the work. But let's hang on for a second. First steps first, all right? If you're using an old school road to the sale, then we first need to create a buying process in your store. Now, buying process is one that shortens your road to the sale without turning everything over to the buyer. Again, yet, right? Our buying process is going to make them feel equal to, not beneath, the salesperson. Now, why a buying process? Listen, they hate your current process, all right? They've already completed all of these things on the side. They've already done their needs analysis. They made product selection. They know the car's features. Everybody who walks on your lot is ready to test drive. Everybody starts the paperwork. Everyone's a qualified buyer, right? These last three pieces on here, they assume the sale. See, everyone is a buyer because buyers only visit 1.6 lots on average before they buy. So we have to start treating everyone like a buyer. We have to start assuming the sale. If they're not a buyer here, they'll buy from your neighbor. It's important to understand that. So we have to assume everybody is here for a delivery. That's why we want to put in a buying process instead of traditional road to the sale. Now, assuming the sale creates a great experience, all right? Now, this is actually a new form of assumptive selling. You all know the old school assumptive selling, which, by the way, I still think is important. Old school assumptive selling was, in the past, we were focused on the customer taking ownership in their mind, right? By saying something like, oh, and Bob, how will you be titling your Mustang? All right? That's assumptive selling, old school. Still do that. That works. I'd still do it today if I was on the sales floor. And Bob, how will you be titling your Mustang, right? We're assuming the sale. It's assumptive selling. But today's assumptive selling means we're going to do that. Plus, we need our team to assume the sale. We need to treat them when they arrive on our lot as if they've already bought, instead of assuming right now that 4 out of 5 who walk on our lot are not buyers, right? And that's what's happening. Steve, no, we already assume the sale with every buyer. No, you don't. I guarantee it. You haven't been doing that. Let's be honest. If you are a typical dealer, if your floor is closing 1 out of 5 traditional ups today, well, that's what they expect. They expect that 1 out of 5 people they see is going to buy and 4 out of 5 are not. And so their process right now, because you're not probably monitoring it, so you don't know what they're saying, for many of your salespeople, their process, their qualifying questions over the years have sort of morphed into an interrogation, right? Because they want to get through and make sure, is this one of the 4 out of 5 that's not going to buy? Let's get rid of them. Instead of assuming 5 out of 5 are going to buy, they assume 1 out of 5 is going to buy. And so that interrogation means your up has to prove to your salespeople that they're a buyer. The assumptive buying process, by the way, is just holding a one-goal strategy, which is the next step. Whatever the next step is, whatever is the next step in our process, that is our strategy to take them to the next step. And we walk them through our process in control, staying in control one step at a time. See, it's not about slowing down or speeding up. It's more a natural progression, right? It's more of a closing process, if you will. We want to speak human, and we want to have a conversation with them. They're here to buy a car. Our job is to help them buy, and that's all it is. Now, a sample buying process, here's one that I've had dealers put in place, and it works, okay? It works for them. It may not work for you. You may not be ready for this yet, but it's where step 1 gets everything out of the way that we need to do. It's a meet, greet, and license scan, okay? Hey, what vehicles did you come in to see today? Great. Let me get your license so we can take you out on a test drive. That's it. It's simple, it's intuitive, it's seamless, it's transparent, right? They know exactly what I'm going to do, and it can even be fun. Steve, if we ask people when they walk on our lot, what vehicle did they come to see today, they're going to lie to us. No, they're going to be caught off guard, and they're going to tell you, actually, I was here to see the new Tauruses, or I was here to see this used Civic you've got on Auto Trader. They will tell you. And when they don't, you can say, great, let me get your license scanned so that when you are ready to test drive, you can take any of the vehicles out you want. And we walk them over to the license scanner together. We keep them engaged. See, what if they have trade-ins, okay? We're going to do the appraisal process. That's going to happen before every test drive. And if we're using a kiosk or an iPad, we're going to show them MMR or Wholesale Black Book, right? This means if we'll do this before the test drive, the appraisal offer can be provided after the test drive, right after the test drive. So that's where you see under demo drive, the feature presentation. We're going to do that during the demo drive. Our manager is going to do their trade evaluation and the write-up so that when they come back, they're ready to go. Now, if we have touchscreen kiosks or tablets, it can make that trade-in process simple, seamless, transparent, right? They're doing it themselves, and even fun. And it keeps the buyer engaged throughout the process. Now, prior to the demo drive, we are going to point out any major items. We're not going to do a full walk around, right? We're not going to tell them that the polymer in the headlights is the same as used on the space shuttle. We're not going to do those kind of things. We're going to show them major items that are probably going to affect their drive, and that's it. Now, we're going to defend the price if we need to, and definitely any addendum that we have on the vehicle right now through seed planting. So something like, as you know, the factory builds their vehicles for the entire world, and what's good in Alaska isn't always great here in Texas. That's why we equip every vehicle with the Lone Star Convenience Package, and that package includes, and just simply dropping that little hint, simply defending our addendum takes it off the table so that when they come back, they expect to pay our addendum. Now, during the demo drive, we're going to make sure they understand the features. This is a miniature feature presentation. Remember, they've spent more than 19 hours online. They chose you, your vehicle, on your dealership lot to test drive because they already understand the features. So while we're on the test drive and doing the mini feature presentation, our managers are creating the write-up with the trade evaluation. And this is assuming you don't self-desk, okay? If you're self-desking, when they come back, the trade is already built into the iPad and you can take them through there. But this means that if we do this during the demo drive, the minute we return back to the dealership, we can present them with a fair pencil. You will be shocked at how many people take your first pencil when it's a fair pencil, and they didn't have to go do their trade after the test drive. Steve, you said self-desking. Yeah, I know. See, this is where you hand them an iPad. They already know what their car is worth before they ever came into your dealership, okay? They already know what your car is worth, again, before they ever set foot on your dealership lot. When you allow them to self-desk, you can walk them through the process, right? They can play with the options. This is AutoFi. It's a great tool. They can play with the options, and they choose the lender and their payment. How about that for process transparency? People can actually do this for themselves. Steve, if we do this, they're going to select themselves right out of a vehicle. No, they're not. They're here to buy. They already know what it costs, okay? There's going to be so much process transparency, they're not going to be focused on your price. They already know your price or the price they're going to pay before they came in. Now, Steve, what about F&I products? Let me explain to you here. Dealers who are using software like AutoFi for self-desking are also using it to present F&I products. Now, whether that just means an education, where your product specialist or your salesperson takes them through and keeps them engaged, or it's actual selling of the F&I products, without going into F&I, that's up to you. Empirical data, that means data that people have been testing because it hasn't been around forever. That's showing that F&I grosses are actually higher when buyers are presented with options to themselves. That means when a buyer can present the option to themselves, your F&I grosses become higher. How can that be? It's because F&I products make sense, right? Things like LoJack, things like gap insurance, these really make sense if you just give me a second to learn about them. Now, Steve, if we do this, does this mean we're a one-price store? There's so much talk about one price out there. I want to be clear. It doesn't have to mean that. In fact, I don't want you to be a one-price store. When you announce yourself as a one-price store, that's had mixed results at best, okay? Right now, you're priced to market online and off, okay? That's a typical store. I want you to defend the price, okay, and any addendums, and make yourself an our-price store, not a one-price store. When you say we're a one-price store, no haggle, no hassle, that tells the customer who hasn't come into your dealership yet that is their lowest price. And it means that they can shop it elsewhere. By the way, talk to the one-price folks. They have to defend their price the minute the customer walks on the lot because the customer still believes in their head, the ones who do show up, they're going to take another $1,000 off of that. Now, you do have to assume the sale throughout. Now, what is an our-price store? Today, it's about the experience, but let's hit on this point quickly. We're talking about experience today, not pricing, but today you have to be priced to market if you want to attract that 61% who just show up and buy, right? 61% of buyers make no contact with you before showing up at your lot. That means they already know the price. So if you just show MSRP online, you're cutting yourself out of most of that 61% market. But you have to defend your online price so that it doesn't become a starting point for negotiations. That's what an our price store does. Now, if we think about what's happened with one-price stores out there, I put Surprise Toyota up here, Toyota Surprise and Avondale Toyota. These stores are 20 minutes apart from each other. If you know anything about these stores, Avondale Toyota has been a one-price, one-person store for a long time, and they're successful at it. So a new point went in 20 minutes away. These are both in the Phoenix area, Phoenix, Arizona. Surprise Toyota, Toyota Surprise, is a Penske store. And they tried to be a one-price store. And they just announced recently that they're abandoning that effort after, I think, more than a year. They couldn't make it work. It was too hard to do. My argument is they should have been an hour price store. They should have been priced to market and then defending that price when the customer walks on the lot. That's where they would have had the success. Now, right now, dealers have the clear advantage over Carvana and the others. You really do. You already have the facilities, right? You already have the service business, which means you can take less if you need to, right? If it's a long-term fight, if we hit a recession, you can blow those Carvanas right out of the water because you've got fixed ops profits. And you've got the name recognition. You have the advantage over the Carvanas. In the flattening market that we're in right now, this is not a sky is falling moment, but it is time to create that better buying experience and to become known for creating a better buying experience. Today, 80% of your ups don't buy from you if you're running a traditional road to the sale. Let me say that again. If you're a traditional dealer running a traditional road to the sale, 80% of the people who show up on your lot as a traditional up, they don't buy from you. The average dealer closes only 20% of their traditional ups. See, 4 out of 5 of these people are leaving. But we know that buyers visit just 1.6 lots on average. So did your experience, right, did that encourage them to buy at the next place? Or did it encourage them to hold off completely? See, it's time to stop letting the Carvanas of the world define you. If you want to learn how easy it is to create a great customer experience in sales and service, we could do a whole 90 minutes on that. In fact, we did. We have an 11-part video series on stevestauning.com. Check it out. When you go to stevestauning.com, scroll down on the right, full series videos, you'll see the customer experience. It's a free video series to watch. The only reason I'm pointing it out now is because we don't have time to go through all of this. If you'll bookmark that, if you'll write it down, if you'll have your team watch it, you'll learn the secrets that companies like Chick-fil-A and Disney are employing right now to easily create a great customer experience every time. Okay, so we've been through today's connected customer. We talked about the great offline buying experience. Now we're going to talk about the best online car buying experience. And yes, everything I'm going to show you today, dealers are doing absolutely today. Now, wait, isn't all online buying the same? I'm going to say no. Actually, I'm going to say not even close. Okay, online buying in some form has been available on dealership websites for more than a decade, right? It started with those clunky shopping carts that required lots of real-time dealer involvement, right? You had to have a desk manager who was working the deal with the customer. There really weren't tools. There was just sort of a lead generation form called, shopping cart or buy it now. Today, your online buying has to also be a great experience. So, okay, Steve, this is all digital retailing, right? Not really. We've been throwing around the word digital retailing for quite a while. We've actually had digital retailing for at least a decade as well, with things like secure credit applications and our Get ePrice buttons. That's digital retailing. See, digital retailing is more like the hybrid experience that we're going to talk about after the online buying experience. This is e-commerce. This is buying online. This is buying the car fully online. Now, just like the great offline experience, the first rule, you got to stop focusing on the negatives of online buying, right? But wait, Steve, Steve, we had a shopping cart before and it didn't work, or we got Shop Click and Drive right now and we're not selling any cars on that. See, many of the tools that failed in the past and a lot of the tools that you guys have today, these are just toys. They really are. Or they assumed everyone wanted to buy fully online. So it's an either or. And that your managers, these tools assume, like the shopping carts, that your managers would be standing by with nothing else to do but work these online deals. Yes, as of this webcast date, here's the negative. I'll give it to you right now. As of this webcast date, every state still requires some form of wet signature to make the deal complete. But guess what? As a dealer, that's not our concern. And it's also not a roadblock. It's an opportunity. For example, because our state requires a wet signature, we get to do a proper delivery, whether it's at their place or ours. And if we can have the delivery at our place, we get to do a service walk and other things, don't we? And we'll talk about that. See, online car buying, by the way, you can keep focusing on the negatives, but it's here and it's not going away, all right? The minor inconveniences that you might think are out there for online car buying, they've all been solved basically. And the ones that haven't been solved are being solved every single day, and they are just minor. It's not killing dealership grosses either. To the contrary, it's growing front and back end grosses for many dealers when they offer the deal completely online. I'll say that again. For many dealers, It's growing front and back end grosses when they offer the deal fully online. There is no more bleeding edge with this. It's ready today. And oh, by the way, it's going to happen with or without you. There are already applications out there that your customers can use, things like Chase Auto Direct and Auto Gravity. These give customers online finance offers right now. They can do the deal online without you, completely bypassing you. Now, make no mistake, the reserves are baked in, right? So you'll still get your reserves if you're a Chase Auto Direct dealer or an Auto Gravity dealer. And I'm not saying don't do business with them, but you got to do it on your website too. In fact, that's where my focus would be. See, even though the reserves are baked in, your customers choose where they want to buy. So imagine a Chase Auto Direct customer. What's the first thing they do? They configure a vehicle, and then they find a seller. Now it's all down to price. So maybe you're going to lose the deal before Chase ever starts to give them their financing options. You've got to be in control of this because online buying is happening right now, and it's going to happen with or without you. Auto Gravity even says, they tell consumers this: take control and save time with personalized car financing offers in the palm of your hand. Telling the consumer to take control, and they will, and the consumer will choose where to buy, and it'll be based on price. You need to control this. Think about it. When a third party brings the pre-financed customer, then the only difference between you and your competitors is price. When you control the customer from the beginning to end, you still get to earn good grosses. Dealers are doing it today because they control the experience from beginning to end. But Steve, I don't want to give someone all that information so they can shop me everywhere. Let me give you a hint. Consumers already have all the information. They do. To buy a car, consumers need three things. They need to find value, relevancy, and authenticity. They already find the first two with or without you. Value, is it a good price, right? Is this a good price to value? Relevancy, is this vehicle relevant to my needs? Is this dealership relevant to my needs? They're going to find those first two with or without you. You've got to provide them authenticity. But Steve, my grosses are already bad. I can't afford to give up more gross. You're not, okay? According to a recent CarBiz Today article, in an analysis of 75 dealers who are doing online buying, the average gross profit increase was $2,000 for the vehicles sold online. Yeah, people are paying more both on the front and back. See, dealers enjoy both higher selling prices and more F&I products added on. The article also said that dealers consistently see 25% higher F&I profits with online sales. Higher F&I grosses, Steve? What? Yes. See, this makes sense when you consider that customers nearly always buy more F&I products when they're given time to fully review the offerings. Okay, yeah, but what about higher selling prices? Yeah, because no one is vomiting a lower price on them. Believe it or not, we're our own worst enemy. When you're a one-price store, an R-price store, and the customer starts to hedge just a little bit, says they're not ready to buy today, or it's between your Accord and the other guy's Camry, first thing your team does is throw a lower price at them. When they do the deal online, they take your price as long as it's a market price. And you're selling your vehicles at market or below right now. But let's be clear. The clunky shopping carts and a non-working buy it now button, these are not the answer. This is about selling cars, not checking a box, telling your OEM, yep, we got online buying. Look, we got a buy it now button. And by the way, this requires zero development. That's the best part about it. This requires zero development on your side. See, there are great partners out there who are already providing great online buying experiences for your customers. You just have to add them to your website. But the partners must work in all channels. Okay, so if you're going to choose a partner for this, they've got to work online, of course, but they have to work offline as well and everything in between, because not everybody who starts their deal online is going to finish it online. And when they get to the dealership, it has to be seamless. It has to be the same deal at the exact same spot. All right. First, we got to think about the customer perspective. Okay. Think about this. Look at these two choices out here. Is your customer today, are they trying to structure a deal or are they trying to buy a car? Structure a deal. That's how we talk. Why would we put this on our website? Save time at the dealership. Structure your deal online. That doesn't mean anything to the customer. They're looking to buy a car. Now, this, from a customer's perspective, the top one doesn't remove any dealership hassles and experiences. It only reduces the time spent, which is good, and the quote-unquote the paperwork, skip the paperwork, which is kind of amorphous. I'm not sure I understand what that means as a customer. Carvana, which is the one on the bottom, they make it appear easy, seamless, and hassle-free. And in their buying process, they address the trust issues, right, from a customer perspective. They can take it for a spin, buy from their couch, 7-day test own. All the trust issues are broken down. All the hassles are taken away. Now, let's think about this. Let's talk about consumer trust issues. What are some of the consumer trust issues with you? Just as a dealer, not online buying, just as a dealer. Remember, driving sales says 99% expect a hassle when they start the car shopping process. That's a consumer trust issue that we have to overcome. What are the consumer trust issues with buying online from anyone? Just buying online, right? Consumers worry, like, is my information safe? Are there guarantees? Okay. How about consumer trust issues with buying online from you, from a dealer, right? What are their trust issues? Will they try to rip me off? Is this a good deal? See, we need to address all of these consumer trust issues online if we want to do the deal online. Now, the problem with the structure of deal, it doesn't adequately address any of these issues. In fact, just look at the hassles that they add on this page. As I click through to structure my deal, they want me to estimate my credit score? What? Who knows that offhand? This is a toy. When you're asking people to estimate their own credit score, it's a toy. It's not a to-the-penny calculation. How about trade value? I can't click to get it in this form. I have to go somewhere else. You're sending your customers off to another website to go get a trade value. Now, with Steve, we offer trade values on our website. Great. It should be part of this form. Okay? How about my own financing? So I can take the 6.7% from Chrysler, right? I can either live with that, or I can, pick up my phone and contact my own bank? Or I have to live with their numbers? Why can't I select my bank on your website? This creates hassles. This creates issues. And there's no trust that this is a good deal on financing because you're only offering me one choice, the 6.7% from Chrysler. Now, what's wrong with these? Okay? What's wrong when we self-select or do a soft credit pull? Why can't we do that, Steve? When you let someone self-select their credit score, it doesn't give us to-the-penny calculations for payments, does it? Okay, that breaks trust. When we have a payment calculator, see, these are really just toys. Payment calculators were great 10 years ago, okay? And listen, have them on your website. Have a link, payment calculators, let people go to it. I wouldn't put it on the vehicle details page, but I'll certainly let people go calculate a payment somewhere on my website if they want to. But the problem with this is payment calculators are really just toys that help a customer eliminate themselves. Both you and the buyer want real decisions from a real lender. Look at this. I structured this deal and I went to look at financing options, and I can lease it or I can pay full, but to finance, I got to see the dealer. Is that an online deal? No, it's just as bad as the shopping cart 10 years ago on your website. I still have to do work with the dealer. I want to buy online. I want it to be a great experience. I want it to be seamless. How about this? You ever wonder why you're not really selling a lot of cars with your General Motors shop, click, and drive that you've got on your website? You got it everywhere. It's on every vehicle details page, search results page. It's taking up all the best real estate. Look at this. I clicked through on a Drive It Now price to buy on Shop, Click, and Drive on a dealership's website, and yikes. See, nothing breaks trust with the consumer like showing them they can buy the car $3,000 cheaper until they click through to buy it and create their deal, and it's $3,000 higher. Now, to the dealer's defense, right, it does say vehicle may be eligible for additional discounts. Please contact dealer. You think? I wanted to shop, click, and drive, but I didn't get to, did I? I couldn't do the whole deal online. This is creating unnecessary friction. The whole point of a great buying experience is we're going to reduce friction. Why would we add it online? Why would we start off on the wrong foot with the customer and tell them they can buy it now, that they can shop, click, and drive and be driving away, and they click through and the prices don't even match? You have a lower price on your website than when I get through on the GM site. This breaks trust. All right, Steve, well, how do we do this? Okay. If you're ready to create a great online buying experience, let's go through the steps. First, we're going to start with your inventory display. See, most people forget when they add the shopping cart or these other tools, this is about buying a car. And you got to ensure that your virtual lot is nearly as robust as your real lot, okay? With lots of pictures, with a great visual display, with actual photos of new cars like this 2017 Edge. Plus, we need to tell them what to do. When customers come to your website, they don't know what we want them to do, so we have to have highly descriptive and easy to find calls to action like check out online or buy now. Not structure your deal or create your deal or even shop, click, drive. Those are meaningless to some customers. Check out online, buy now. Sounds like I'm buying on Amazon. And we want to do all of this while displaying market-based pricing on our website. Again, Steve, does this make us a one-price store? No. But we need to transform into an hour price store, right? Just as we did to attract the 61% of offline buyers. An hour price store prices all your units competitively. And you defend the price at the first human interaction. That means as soon as I talk to someone on the phone, as soon as someone emails me, is that your best price? Or as soon as they walk on the lot, I defend my price. Now let's address the issues with the customer, right? Look at this. We're addressing the issues. This is AutoFi. We're addressing the issues as soon as we click through to check out online. It's fast, right? It's 10 minutes in your home, can save you hours at the dealership. It's transparent, no pressure to commit, and clear explanations of your options. It's flexible. Online or at the dealership, you're in the driver's seat. And then we just need to take control. Enter email to start. Very simple. We're going to walk them through this process. This is what your tool should look like. It should walk them through the process in a way that doesn't seem like it's asking them for too much information before we can start getting them to commit to buy. But it should feel like a buying process. Now keep it simple, right? Things like, do you need financing? Yes or no? That's it. Do you need financing? Yes or no? By the way, we're not going to ask them to estimate payments with online toys like with a payment calculator. We're not going to ask them to estimate their credit score at this point or to start to talk interest rates right away. Do you need financing? Yes or no? We're going to keep it simple. We're going to keep it in order. Right after, do you need financing? Right? Do you have a trade-in? Yes or no? And when they say they do have a trade-in, we're not going to ask them to estimate their trade value somewhere else. We're going to take them through a real trade evaluation with a real great partner like KBB or Black Book, right? That's going to be part of the process. And oh, by the way, people are surprisingly honest here. If you have done a buy it now button on your website where you have trade right now, you know that they're surprisingly honest with this. All right. So there's a question. There's so much you are hitting, so I wanted to see where you say a dealer should start when looking at technology upgrades and processes. Great question, and it's a good part for it. So again, if you have questions, use the hashtag #UDAdvantage on Twitter, or send us a direct message through Twitter, and we will answer your question. So where should a dealer start? The first place you start is get a great partner. Get a great partner who's going to do all of the work. Now we'll talk about in a minute like how many people we want to get involved in the dealership and that. But get a great partner like AutoFi. I'm telling you, I looked at all of them, okay? I looked at all the available ones out there, and I'm not going to name the others because I don't want to knock anybody. People are getting better all the time. But AutoFi has it nailed down today, okay? That's why they're part of today's webcast. So you get a great partner like AutoFi, and they will work with you. They will take you through the steps. They have people who will train your team. But more than anything else, they'll integrate with your lenders that you're already using. We're going to look at a screen in a little bit on how people choose their own lender, right? And that they log into their own bank account. It's crazy how that process transparency and how that trust is built up. No more of this funny business with financing. And I understand it's not funny business to you. No more. It's no longer funny business to the customer. So the first thing you do is you get a great partner like AutoFi, and they will take you through the process. And then and this is what Rick Reichert did. Put it on the website first, and then added a couple people on staff who could actually use the iPad, right? Take people through the process offline, all right? Look at the Ken Garf group. They're not taking their Garf E's to all their stores. They tested it. Now they've gone to 6, and then they're going to grow from there. So if you're talking, I'm a 1-store dealer, or I'm a 2-store dealer, or a 3-store group, something like that, let's get it on your website first. Let's take it through. There's no long-term commitments with this stuff. There's no development on your end. This is not bleeding edge, like I said, anymore, all right? Great question. Thank you for that. So we talked about people being surprisingly honest with their trade. If you've got Kelley Blue Book instant cash offer, if you're an instant cash offer dealer, you know 95 or more % of the people who show up with their vehicles, they're very honest with their vehicle. Most times they're too honest, right? They tell you it's a piece of junk when it's actually pretty good, right? Or people aren't choosing excellent all the time, so don't be afraid of this. We can actually do this deal 100% online. They're going to be very, very honest here. But you have to keep mental ownership. This is the problem with a lot of the tools that are out there, okay? Whichever partner you choose, they're going to need to be like AutoFi and ensure the customer maintains mental ownership at every step of the process. See, what do you mean mental ownership? Let's talk about it. Think about this. Think about Amazon. Is there any time in Amazon's process that it's not mine in my head? Is there any time that's it's not mine? No, it's mine all the way through, right? Yeah, it's in the shopping cart. I can take it out if I want, but it's not like there's some other, I've got to qualify for something, right? Or someone's going to come in and take it away from me or any of that. It's mine. That's mental ownership. See, toys like payment calculators, they seem more what if, right? Rather than I'm buying to consumers. So whatever tool you use, it has to be like AutoFi and give them mental ownership throughout the process. It has to be a buying process online. Again, it can't be what if. So let's play with this payment calculator. Let's estimate our credit. Oh, let's add 100 points to that. Let's take 100 points away. What happens to our payment? No, they got to be I'm buying. They've got to have in their head this mental ownership I'm buying. And we have to reduce the friction. Simplicity is one thing, right? But if you expect your prospects to complete a purchase totally online, you also have to remove any points of friction, like a long-form credit application, okay? Moreover, and this is what we talked about, them connecting with their own bank. If you allow them to connect with their current bank on your website, think about the trust that builds. That's immediate trust and confidence. I'm on your website, and rather than filling out a credit app, right, it says I can sign in using my bank account. Think about how insanely easy this is. This is today. This is happening on dealership websites today. Would you like to sign in using your bank? That's what it asks. We'll use the data from your bank to pre-fill your finance application, verify your income, and verify your address. Holy cow. It's fast, it's easy, it's in order, it makes sense, right? This is all the things we said a great buying experience requires. This is what the old online shopping carts didn't have. They couldn't do this, okay? This is why they always fail today. But there's still something missing here. I want to be clear. This is not perfect. I want to be clear there's something missing. Now, we've got about a minute and a half delay, so I'm not going to wait for you to guess. No, wait. No, I'm not. I'm kidding. Go ahead and guess amongst yourselves what you think's missing. You know what's missing in here? What's missing is a customer grinding you for all your profit. That's why the grosses are higher. The front end grosses are higher because they're taking your price. They've done their research. These are the people that would have walked in to your dealership and your team would have closed them at 20%. These people are willing to buy from you because they know that your price is competitive. Yes, the early data shows that for those who buy online, they pay more than for those who show up at your dealership. It is happening. When we can do this, now it all comes down to terms, doesn't it? This is called self-desking, the online version. See, we're just assuming they're using a tablet here. That could be anything, right? But we'll put it on a tablet. And we're going to see this again, by the way. We'll see this tablet again when we look at using the hybrid. Now, when we do self-desking, these have to be to-the-penny calculations, don't they? Plus, throughout the online process, they may want some assistance. So you should have a BDC capable of answering questions via a robust online chat texting partner. Now, Steve, we've got to add a BDC. I'm not talking about 10 people. There's not going to be more than one person or two tops at any time ever trying to buy online. And most of them aren't going to need your assistance. But this BDC, it's a step up from appointment setters. It doesn't mean your current appointment setters can't do it, but it doesn't mean you have to have desk managers in this spot. These people are going to have simple questions, mostly how to use the tool or, hey, I entered the wrong things or whatever. These people have to just be helpful, ready to chat, text, Facebook Messenger, whatever, and answer the customer's questions, even if it's on the phone, and a lot of times just get them to come in and bring their tablet with them. See, this BDC is going to build trust, okay? It's a real person, right? Also, providing the buyer with additional assurances along the way can also resolve most, if not all, of the remaining trust issues, with buying a $40,000 item online sight unseen. See, these assurances allow the prospect to pull the trigger and commit. Things like what the Riker Group does, right? The best value guarantee, 72-hour exchange policy, lifetime powertrain warranty. But even other assurances like, when would you like to make your payment? See, this is part of the process that they need to do online because this is the stuff that they would do offline with your F&I manager. So they can see everything, that everything's spelled out in the payment. They understand everything. There's complete transparency here. This builds trust just like your BDC is going to build trust with them. And Steve, what about F&I add-ons? I don't want to lose my add-ons. I'm doing great with this. I got to get them in the store for the add-ons. Hang on here. Time out. According to that Car Biz Today article, more than 50% of consumers buying online add at least one F&I product. Now, you're probably doing a little better than that right now, but there's no commissions with this. Let's be clear. Present add-ons in terms of monthly payments, though, okay, which was interesting. One of the tools we looked at online is presenting gap coverage at $800 flat versus presenting it, as we see with the AutoFi piece, it's $515 total or $10.07 in monthly payments. You will, when done right, you will sell more F&I products, right? Steve, don't all the products do the F&I add-ons in terms of payments? No, unfortunately they don't, you know. Okay, Steve, we sold a car. Now what happens? All right. We had this great experience online, right? But we sold the car and we know that it requires a wet signature. This is where you can fail. And this is where, when you talk about how are we going to put this into place, we're going to put it on our website and we're going to assign maybe 1 or 2 product specialists to handle all these deliveries. And they'll get a mini if they take them through the delivery, and they'll get a percent of any F&I products they upsell. Okay, at this point, any add-ons that they add when the customer shows up, any aftermarket accessories, anything you want to sell to these people, you can do it at the time of delivery. Now, the delivery is critical. So whether they've arranged to pick up their vehicle or whether you've arranged to deliver their vehicle, you must, and this is critical, you cannot fall down now. You must have all of the paperwork ready. I cannot stress that enough. They did this all online. They truly expect to walk in and sign a piece of paper and grab their keys and leave. You have to, all of the paperwork has to be accurate, right? To the penny calculations are critical. Again, that's why it's important to have a great partner who's pulling all the right rates of residuals, who's already working with all of the banks. And any documents you have requiring a wet signature should be called out. Steve, doesn't that go without saying? No, it doesn't. I've seen these deliveries, okay? I've seen deliveries of people who buy a car on eBay, for example, from dealers, and they show up at the dealership and they spend an hour and a half while somebody gathers up all the paperwork and finds the extra set of keys and the other fob that we promised them and goes and builds a WIO, whatever. Stop. It's got to be like the closing when you go buy your house, right? When you go to buy a house and you go to the closing, every place you have to sign has one of these little tabs, sign here. It has to be that simple. Now, I cannot stress this enough. The delivery must be perfect, whether it's in person at their home or in your store, because all of the goodwill you've created will evaporate with the slightest bit of friction. Anything more than a true sign and drive at this point is going to hurt your reputation in the dealership. This means the keys are ready, the car is ready, you are expecting them, right? You have an appointment for 1:45, you expect them at 1:45, and everything's ready at 12:45. You should these folks showed up, they just bought a $40,000 car online from you, they saved you a ton of commission, right? And you made good money on them. They should never have to wait even a minute to get this deal done at this point. However, this does not mean you don't do a proper delivery, okay? If it's at their home, we are going to present a couple F&I add-ons. We're going to give them a last chance. If it's in our dealership, we're going to do the service walk. We're going to set the first service appointment. These are critical for in-store deliveries. Now let's talk about some of the pros and cons, okay? First, let's talk about the cons of the best online tools out there. And this is not me saying it. This is Rick Reichert talking about AutoFi from Reichert Automotive. I asked him, I said, what are the disadvantages of the AutoFi product or of online tools in general? He said, listen, he said, the only disadvantage that we see right now with AutoFi is the wet signature requirement. But of course, he also sees that, just like we do, as an advantage. See, we all see this wet signature requirement as an advantage because it gives the dealer a chance to upsell more F&I products, to meet the customer, to set CSI expectations, to complete a service walk, set that first service appointment, all the things we talked about. Now, there are a lot of cons with some of the immature tools that are out there, right? If they're missing to-the-penny calculations, for example, this causes the consumer to lose trust immediately. We've got to get beyond that, all right? Make no mistake, I love credit estimators for lead generation, like the Black Book, Estimate Your Credit Score. It's fantastic for lead generation, but it's not for obtaining financing, okay? That is a problem with some of the immature tools out there. Another problem is if you require them to go out and find their own financing or even give them that option. You want them to connect with the banks on your website. You want them to log into their own bank on their website, all right? And another con is if you require them to get a trade value elsewhere. It doesn't make any sense. Now, what are some of the top advantages of these tools? Again, according to Rick Reichert, one of the top advantages to any of these tools is you're offering today's customer what they think they want with respect to buying a vehicle. See, of course, only 5%, as Rick says, and 10% in 2 years, as Cox Automotive says, are going to buy this way. But a whole bunch are going to start this way, right? And then they'll bring in their iPad into the dealership. We're going to do the hybrid next. But you're giving them a chance to buy the vehicle the way they think they want to buy, right? All of these studies say 63%, 75%. All these people are willing to buy online. They're not all going to buy online, but they want to start there. Of course, there are immediate cost savings. This is another advantage when you do the deal even partially online, right? When we can shorten down the road to the sale, when we can already have the deal desked before they come in. They've done the self-desking. Now it's just F&I. We don't have to pay as big a commission. We can have product specialists handle this. And there are significant savings later when you work with one person end-to-end in your dealership. That's what, Sonic is finding out with their Sonic One experience, what Garf Group is finding out, what Champ BMW found out years ago, what Walzer found out years ago. Is there significant savings when we can have someone from beginning to end, one person with our customer? Folks, I'm sorry if you're an F&I manager watching this and you think, my God, is F&I going away? Yeah, I'm sorry, it is. But the great news is the sales positions are going to pay a whole lot more because they're going to be a whole lot more professional throughout. Now, there are also CSI advantages with these, right? When you can do the deal the customer's way with high process transparency throughout, right? As we saw offline, we're going to get better CSI. Finally, the process transparency leads to higher F&I grosses. And that's based on a study referenced in Automotive News. According to one large group using online buying, they're seeing higher than expected sales of F&I products with their online sales customers. They also say that F&I sales have been at or above those stores' traditional customer levels. So better back-end grosses, we learned from two sources and the CarBiz Today article, showing us slightly better front-end grosses. So there are better grosses to be had with this. Now, there's some additional pros for putting this on your website. And one of that is that people are selling cars online right now. Okay, you can either join them and be in control of your customer, or you can wait for Chase or AutoGravity to start sending you one of their customers and letting that customer choose dealership in advance. Now, the cost risks are virtually nothing with the newest tools like AutoFi. Again, you're not developing a lot of stuff. These things, just a bit of code goes on your website. They work with your website company, and all the tools do this. There's no more bleeding edge. You're not developing stuff. All right, Steve, how do I market this? Okay, I want to add it to my website, but I want to make sure that people show up on my website and start buying cars. Like all marketing you do, everything should be seamless, right? Everything should flow together, and everything should mirror everything else, meaning that if I'm going to start with this product, and we're going to look at a Rick Reichert commercial in just a second, how they're marketing it, it should flow. Whatever I say in this commercial on TV or whatever I say on my online ads, that should match what they see on my website and when they come into my dealership. All of this stuff should match. This means that whatever creative we use to market this matches the experience both online and offline. So let's take a quick look at this Rick Reichert creative, and then we'll hop into the next section.
What if I told you you could save time and money by buying your car from the comfort of your own home or office? Only at #1 Reichert Ford, we're pleased to announce AutoFi, a more convenient, transparent, and efficient way to buy a car. AutoFi turns a dealer's website into a seamless online car buying experience. Simply select your car, answer a few questions for an instant credit decision, and let AutoFi's network of lenders compete for your business. Choose the dealer protection plans that work best for you and sign. It's that easy. Still want to visit the showroom and kick the tires? No problem. AutoFi's in-store checkout process gives you the same digital experience as buying online. AutoFi, convenient, efficient, transparent, now available at #1 Reichert Ford. We're dealing.
So that's it. That's online. Don't worry, we're going to do hybrid next. Stay with me here. But what I mean by that's it is it's not hard. It's really not. There are great partners out there who are willing to work with you, but it's something we really need to do today. We're not going to be on the bleeding edge. We don't have to worry about that. We're not going to lose people at our dealership, but we could eventually lose sales if somebody else does it, if somebody else is first to market in our market and telling our consumers, our customers, that they can buy fully online. So we need to get out ahead of this. But again, go back to section 2 today, which was the best offline car buying experience. That's as critical or more critical to fixing that. We've got to do that as well. And here's why. We're going to talk about, in our last section here, the best hybrid car buying experience. I'm not talking about buying a Prius. I'm talking about the online-offline buyer. Well, Steve, don't we have to start doing online sales first to make it happen? No. We've actually had a hybrid system, this hybrid online-offline buying system, for a long time. It's called internet sales. Okay? For most dealerships, though, you're just collecting and responding to leads. You didn't treat it like a hybrid system, an online-offline hybrid buying system. But top dealers are using the information that they get from these types of forms to start the deal and shorten the road to the sale. And some even follow My Perfect Appointment, which we're going to review a little bit today, but results in an 80% close rate for dealers who follow the perfect appointment. That means you're selling 80% of the people who keep their appointment, who show up on time for their appointment. You're closing them because you had that continuity, that online to offline continuity, right? The key to internet sales and online-offline hybrid sales is everything they did online has to be captured, stored, and acted upon before they arrive. That last part's critical, acted upon. So credit application completed online should mean that I have zero credit application paperwork when I arrive. Is that happening in your dealership today? Customer completes a credit application online, your BDC sets an appointment, they show up at the dealership. Is everything already completed for them? And they just have to verify no, they have to start over again. You're just collecting leads. You don't have an online-offline hybrid. It's got to be it. Same experience with trade appraisal. If I've already completed your Black Book trade appraisal form on your website, then when I come into the dealership, all of that information should be entered into the CRM properly, and your own tools should have been used, or Black Book, where you've already created the value. Now, it doesn't mean your salesperson doesn't walk the trade, right, with the customer and downsell the trade a little bit, but it does mean that they don't have to re-enter anything except mileage because it's all been taken care of, all right? In fact, even just an e-lead should mean that whatever vehicle they wanted is clean, it's gassed, it's ready to go when they arrive. This is all we mean, by the way, with an online-offline hybrid. It's just acting upon all that information we got before they arrived at our dealership. It's nothing complicated, okay? It just means that whatever the customer has told you already is not rehashed ad nauseum in store. When I gave you guys that 80% close rate on the perfect appointment, I gave you the 80% close rate, and some of you are like, Steve, that's crazy. We close our internet deals at 40% or 30%. That's because I have to start everything over when I get into your dealership. That's the problem, because you're not doing the online-offline hybrid. Everything I did online, I have to restart when I get to your dealership. I know dealers who are closing their internet appointments at 20%, just like their traditional ups. Guess why? Because they treat the internet appointment just like a traditional up. The customer starts back at what? Meet and greet, product selection, right? Feature presentation, needs analysis. Listen, I prefer an effective hybrid model, the online-offline hybrid, because it lets the customer do some of the heavy lifting in advance of the visit. I also like it because it reduces the amount of in-dealership paperwork that we have to do. It reduces the time, by the way, that F&I managers spend chasing STIPs or funding. Think about it, right? If we can have someone start on a product like AutoFi, we can tell them in advance what kind of STIPs or what sort of information we need before they arrive. And it tells customers what they need to bring in advance, like proof of insurance, driver's license, proof of employment. When we can have that contact with them in advance, I love these sales because we can be in control. Now, let's level set for a second, because customers see no differences between your online and your offline businesses. Just like booking a hotel room at ritzcarlton.com, right? Just because I booked online doesn't mean the experience won't be fantastic offline. Think about it. In fact, if I book at ritzcarlton.com, I expect to be better taken care of because of my online order. They should expect me, right? I don't expect to get to the front desk and have the Ritz-Carlton people go, "Who are you? What did you do? Are you sure you had a reservation?" No, I expect to get there and they'd say, "Hey, Mr. Stani, we've been expecting you. Here are your keys. Let me just scan your credit card." And we're done, right? It should be better. And it's the same thing with your dealership. Customers see no difference between your online website and your offline business. And when they tell you something in advance about themselves and they're coming to visit on an appointment, it should be a better experience. If you remember this driving sales data from earlier today, 39% of your customers today are basically online-offline hybrids. See, of course, everybody's online, but 39% of people who buy will make some contact with you before they arrive. So we can make the in-store experience perfect for these 39%. See, today's connected customers, they want to buy their way, not ours. So let's maximize their satisfaction and your profits. According to a Harris poll conducted for Ford, 83% of consumers say they want to spend as little time as possible at the dealership. Let me let that sink in for a second. 83% say they want to spend as little time as possible at the dealership. What's wrong with that 17%? Why doesn't everybody want to spend less time? I don't know. 17% of people love to hang with you, I guess. We can best accommodate them with an online-offline hybrid experience when we know in advance what's happening. So let's create a strategy that maximizes our hybrid sales, since these represent the future of the dealership, right? First, we need to acquire these customers. This means a combination of lead acquisition strategy that drives phone calls. It also means some self-desking and assisted deals with a partner like AutoFi. And now acquiring today's customers, that could be a 90-minute class on its own, and it is. There's 3 classes actually. All 3 of these classes are available on stevestauning.com. Again, 100% free. I just didn't want to rehash all of this. These 3 classes will teach everyone involved with digital marketing and internet sales what they need to do to attract more of the 39%. So attract and sell the millennial buyer, how to attract and sell more trade-in leads, and how to convert more website visitors into buyers. Those are the 3 classes that you want to assign to the folks involved with digital marketing and internet sales at your dealership. Now, we need a broad strategy because there is no one-size-fits-all. That's one of the many things, by the way, that BP didn't understand. Okay, that's something that CarMax and Carvana don't quite understand today. See, I can't do any of the deal at CarMax as of this webcast online. They make me come to the store. Carvana, I can't go to a lot and search through 500 pieces of inventory, can I? See, they don't quite understand that it's a broad strategy. We can't just be in one little corner, right? Either 100% offline or 100% online. A broad strategy of online plus offline plus hybrid allows us to be flexible as consumers change. Now, we've covered 100% offline and we've covered 100% online. When we look at the online-offline hybrid, there are really 2 paths. I want to be clear on this because some people think it's only online to offline. See, that's the path we think about with the hybrid, right? Online to offline. I start online on your website. I finish offline in the dealership. But guess what? There's also, if you're doing hybrid sales right, there's offline to online. That's where I started in store, but I finish it at home online. Steve, what in the world are you talking about? Offline to online, what the heck? Yes. Let me be clear. When you embrace the idea that your online and your offline are one and the same, then deals can flow both ways. Here's a quick example. Okay, a traditional up shows up, right? They select the product, they test drive, but we fail to get him back in to finish the paperwork. He had to go, whatever. For whatever reason, he took his lunch break, he really had to go. Right now he's a be-back, isn't he? And we know most of you don't get your be-backs in because most of you don't make any be-back calls. What if the rep emailed the be-back a link, right, back to the exact point where the deal was left and the customer can finish the deal at home? But Steve, won't the be-back shop us elsewhere? Yes. What the heck do you think is happening today? Buyers visit 1.6 lots. You've just created a great offline experience that you continued online. How will this compare to the next place he goes? Okay? You've already sent him a link. He said he had to leave. Rep got his email, said, hey, let me send you a link to where you left off. You can finish the paperwork at home. How does that compare when he steps on to the old school lot next? Okay? Don't fear transparency. Own it. Get out ahead of transparency. Of course, online to offline, where they start online and finish up at your dealership, that's going to be the most common path. And it's already 39% of your business today. We already understand online form completion leading to offline, right? And we're going to talk about the perfect appointment shortly, but let's talk about using a partner like AutoFi plus a robust chat application and how those conversations are going to flow. See, I want to be very clear. Online chat is a must with online sales. Plus, if your chat team is well trained, they can move the timid consumer, the timid online consumer, they can move them into the dealership. That's why we want someone just a step ahead of an appointment setter, okay? So when we've got great online chat operators working and we've got this timid online customer, we can bring them into the dealership. And when we do this, we want to make sure that that offline experience starts exactly where they left off online. This is why I like applications like AutoFi, okay? In this case, right, the customer can actually bring in their own tablet if they'd like. Steve, their own tablet? Yeah. We can actually tell them via chat, hey, are you doing that on an iPad? Great. You can bring that right in. We'll just keep working from there together, okay? They can use their tablet or one at the dealership because everything that they've done online is stored securely. So it doesn't matter if they bring in their own or if they start back up when they get to your dealership. But when they use their own tablet from start to finish on the deal, there are no barriers to a great experience. Why? Because you're going to get great front and back grosses, but they're in control. They feel like they're in control of the whole thing. But Steve, really, their own tablet? Yes. The online-offline hybrid with true online tool like AutoFi works best when they bring in their own tablet. It really does. And customers love this, and it immediately builds trust. It breaks down all the barriers. Hybrid, by the way, according to everyone who's experienced this, will eventually be the path most used by our buyers coming up. Okay, so 39% of our buyers today are hybrid. When we add in the right tools and make it a real online to offline buying experience, this is where most of our customers are going to end up. This is what Carvana doesn't understand. T-Rex wants to shop, doesn't he? Okay. Now, we'll talk about the perfect appointment. Executed perfectly, the perfect appointment gets dealers 80% plus show rates and 80% plus close rates. Now, there are 4 steps to the perfect appointment. The first 2 are strong appointment setting, which we're not going to do today, and appropriate appointment confirmation, which we're not going to do today. So you can visit stevestauning.com to learn how to complete those, steps 1 and 2. Right now, we're dealing with the in-store experience associated with the online-offline hybrid. So when you want to do the whole perfect appointment, go to stevestauning.com. Again, 100% free video series, appointment-driven communication, or creating appointment culture, or leading appointment culture, or all 3. Now, why the perfect appointment? Car and Driver tells us that consumers want 1 hour or less. The perfect appointment does this. Infosys says 86% of our buyers want personalization. The perfect appointment, when done correctly, is the pinnacle of personalization. It really is. And of course, there are the closing ratios. That's why we want it to be perfect, the 80% close. Now, given the online-offline hybrid nature, we're going to have appointments show at different stages of the deal, right? So there are 4 rules for all perfect appointments because we don't know. Some people are going to show up just they want to sign or they want to inspect a couple of things first and then they'll sign. So that's an online-offline hybrid. Some people maybe have just submitted a credit application or a trade-in application. So we need to have 4 rules for all perfect appointments. 1, we are always prepared for them. Okay, they're scheduled for 1:45. We're ready to go by 12:45, 1 o'clock. Number 2, we never make anyone start over. That's a key here. We can't make people start the paperwork over. We can't make them start the process over. We're going to keep them engaged. One of the things the perfect appointment does is it keeps the sales rep with the customer the entire time. And we're going to assume the sale. The perfect appointment assumes that everybody is here to buy, that every appointment is a delivery. So we talked about steps 1 and 2. You can do those online. Let's jump to step 3, okay? Step 3 of the perfect appointment is the pre-appointment preparation. And this is where some dealers start to fall apart. Believe it or not, they're not willing to do the work. But this is where we're going to get the vehicle cleaned, gassed, and parked in a designated area at least 30 minutes to 45 minutes prior to the time of the appointment. The reason we're going to do it in advance is we're going to be putting on a show in the 4th step of the perfect appointment. And we don't want anybody to see the behind-the-scenes stuff. We've got to be prepared in case they show up early. And we're going to create the deal jacket in advance with VIP in large letters. We're going to have the keys with the deal jacket. The reason we need the keys with the deal jacket is when the customer arrives, we need to walk them over and let them see the deal jacket. This is not for us, right? These deal jackets, these VIP customer folders, these aren't for us. These are for the customer to see. Okay, so don't overthink these things. But they can't see it if this is sitting at the sales desk and the salesperson has the keys in his pocket. We need to walk them over to the deal jacket, and we'll get to that later. All right. The jacket, by the way, is up to the minute with accurate information. And your managers and the reps, who's ever going to take care of this customer, should memorize as many details as possible before the customer arrives for their appointment. So we've got the vehicle parked in the sold vehicles only parking area, right? We'll talk about what that means in a second. It's clean, gas, it's parked, it's backed in. We've got the VIP folder ready. The customer arrives for step 4 of the perfect appointment. This is the in-store VIP treatment. This is where we're going to treat the customer. We're going to greet him and treat him like a VIP by a manager. We're not going to ask them any road to the sale questions, right? We don't care if they want the Camry for business or pleasure. It doesn't matter. It's a done deal attitude. We're going to treat every appointment like it's a delivery. We're going to start where they left off online. So if all we have is a trade, we don't know what vehicle they want yet, right? Well, then we're going to start with trade. If we know what vehicle they want, but we don't know if they have a trade, well, then we're going to start with trade again, right? We're going to do whatever we're going to do. It's going to be right where they left off online. They're not going to have to rehash anything with us. For most, by the way, this means that the test drive is ready to go in 5 minutes. Now, the sold vehicles only area and the VIP folder, that makes the customer take ownership. They start to think they bought that vehicle before they ever even started the test drive. So don't overthink those things. Now, appraisals, again, just like our offline experience, are going to happen during the test drive. But we must keep the customer busy and engaged at all times. It makes the time seem to fly by. see, we don't want them getting buyer's remorse before they complete the purchase. So within minutes of the test drive, the deal or an iPad is presented, right? If they're going to do self-desking, right after the test drive, we've got the deal all loaded up, and all they have to do is select their lender and move forward, and we're done, right? We have to make sure that all the numbers that we talk about support everything that we've discussed up to this point. There cannot be any surprises. Plus, the numbers that we present have to be defensible. That means we've already defended our addendum. That means we've already taken them to a kiosk and shown them the wholesale black book of their vehicle. So we're going to offer them something that's maybe a little better than a wholesale black book, and they're going to be thrilled, right? If we can do this, if the numbers are defensible, then it all comes down to terms. According to Google, 82% of your consumers will use their mobile device as an in-store purchase assistant. I want to make sure you understand this. When you make me wait, if I'm at your dealership and I'm sitting at a table and my sales rep just went up to talk to the desk, 82% of consumers are going to use their mobile device, their iPhone, as an in-store purchase assistant. What that means is I'm going to go look at your competitors' vehicles. I'm going to go look at Kelley Blue Book. I'm going to go do all of these things that can talk me out of the deal. So it's important to understand, if you're doing old school F&I and they have to wait, you've got to incorporate some education or some pre-sale of F&I products. I'm not saying get rid of F&I managers, but I'm saying we've got to incorporate something that keeps them engaged. So with an AutoFi, we can show them the F&I products. We can educate them in advance, and that 45 minutes will seem less long, right? We keep them engaged the entire time. But Steve, how do we start this? We already had that question, didn't we? But Rick Reichert said, you know what? There are three things. He said there are three things you need to do to start this. One, you have to approach this with no fear. It's going to happen with or without you. It is a done deal, okay? There's going to be online sales, and it's happening right now. Now, obviously, you must have genuine dealer principal buy-in on this. This is not a box check. If you're a general manager watching this and your dealer principal does not buy in on this, it will go away as soon as your F&I managers corner him or her and start to complain about it. So you've got to have genuine buy-in. And then simply limit the number of people who do this at first, right? Rick Reichert's got a limited rollout. Just a couple of people in the used car building started it, and then they moved over to new cars. Now there's some people doing the hybrid, and there's a chat person who's available. And it wasn't the whole team. They didn't come out and just vomit all this all over the whole team. These are really the three implementation tips. It's all you need. All right. I hope this was helpful to you. We're not all done yet. I want to take you through a few slides, okay? First off, we talked about this a couple times, but there is 100% free video training. You'd do me a great favor if you'd share this with your team and if you'd share it with others at stevestawning.com and at undeniableadvantage.com. All of the training on both of those sites is 100% free. Next, please like us. We like to be liked. Like us on the Facebook /SM Stawning. That's my business Facebook page. /UD Advantage. That's us, Undeniable Advantage. If you've got questions for me, you can go to stevestawning.com and contact me through the Contact Steve form on stevestawning.com. I thank you for your time today. We're going to talk about our next webcast in a second, but also like us on the Twitter or follow us on the Twitter at Steve Stawning and at UD Advantage. And here's our next webcast. This one is for the salespeople and their managers, and it doesn't matter what business you're in. We're going to talk about real social selling that actually sells something. It's going to be Friday, May 19th, so you got, I think, almost 6 weeks before we do that. Again, 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific. We'll see you then. Thank you so much for your time today. I appreciate it.
Time for a new car? Express Checkout is convenient and transparent. Explore cars on our website and get our best price every time. Choose cash, lease, or finance. Create a deal that's right for you and see your monthly payment. Have a trade-in? Get a fair price from a trusted source. When you're ready to check out, add your personal information to get a real-time credit decision. See offers from multiple lenders and choose the one that's right for you. Want to test drive or need time to think? You can save your offer and continue checkout anywhere, anytime. Before you sign, review and select recommended service and protection plans. Have your vehicle delivered to your home or pick it up at the dealership. Your car will be prepared and ready to go. Sign and drive in less than 30 minutes. Express Checkout. Your car, your terms.